Hey everyone, wanted to spend some time to review the new Mike album, Showbiz. Now, if you're at all a fan of this abstract hip hop, underground hip hop, then you certainly know the name Mike, as he's been quite a veteran at only 26 years of age, releasing several collab albums, studio albums. In fact, this is his 10th studio album, which is just insane to think about. Generally, when I think of Mike, I think of just his great lyricism that he's able to bring that combines these sad and mellow bars, great, like, New York East Coast production, whether it be with samples, just the instrumentation having this kind of boom bap, whether it be drumless, very Alchemist kind of inspired production. And then the only thing that sometimes might get in his way is his delivery, sometimes very messy, very kind of hard to understand exactly what he's saying, which does in its own way kind of benefit him, as I think it just adds more to his charm, adds more to the sad vibes that he gets from it. But sometimes it can have certain songs that aren't as strong as the best from each of these albums to kind of blend in too much of others. But on Showbiz, I get the sense that it's amped up more than on other albums from his lyricism, production, flow, the general flow of the album. While it is 24 songs and 40 minutes, it does feel like it goes by a bit fast, which can be good to some people, bad to some others. I personally thought it just managed to do good enough for it to not be like, I want more from it, but not long enough that I felt bored by it. Really enjoyed songs such as Watered Down. Just the instrumental is amazing. Probably my favorite Mike instrumentations. Good lyricism on the track. Just from the start, and that's something you're going to hear me mull over several times, is just how good of a lyricist he is. As his pen game, I think, when it comes to underground hip-hop, is just unmatched. Just able to write about so many things. And on this album, at several parts, we see him start to play more into melody, into this like vibe, and almost kind of letting the song take over at certain points, which I'm a big fan of. His melody, while it isn't the most experimental, extreme, unique, I believe he uses it super well, and simple goes a very long way. And I do like that he kind of breaks up these songs that maybe focus a bit more on melody than others, to be in between certain songs, like this, I think the song's around called like Class Clown or something, where he's just going, he's not stopping with his flows, delivery. It's definitely one of his best flows on the entire album. He's crystal clear in his wording, almost no breaths throughout the entire entire song, very good. And then it's followed by Watered Down, which I think is a great transition. Just good album in general, and even on songs like Man in the Mirror, I love just the lyricism on that as well. Definitely one of his better lyrical songs. The instrumentation is also good, kind of funky on there. And then probably another one of my favorites, What You Bout to Do / A Star Was Born, featuring 454, who I had not heard of before this album, but his feature is probably the best part of this entire song. Besides from just overall, it's a very well-rounded song, transitions super well into each other, but 454 carries, in my opinion, which isn't a bad thing. I think he does super well, especially with how few features there are on this album. I think that's always good to see. And then my least favorite track was The Wait, 2K20, which it wasn't necessarily a bad song by any means. It just kind of falls in the same thing where his flow and like delivery kind of makes it blend in too much of other songs. It's probably one of the more least memorable ones. The interludes on this album, for the most part, I think are very decent, not too long, kind of just help transition throughout the album and feel necessary for the most part. And just overall, while I am a big fan of Mike, he is probably one of my favorite of these underground abstract hip-hop rappers. I think the one thing, while not even as a bad thing, is he kind of is very consistent in his albums. I would say, like, if you like this album, you probably are going to like this album usually the same. A few exceptions, as there are a handful of Mike albums that go far, far and above and are some of the best hip-hop albums of the 2010s and the early 2020s, such as Burning Desire and May God Bless Your Hands, two of my favorite abstract hip-hop albums, and two of albums I would recommend for anybody trying to get into that. And this album, honestly, and maybe it's a bit preemptive, I think fits into those two albums as well. I think this is a great return to those album form. We see him invigorated, and we see him coming off of his 2024 collab album Pinball with Tony Seltzer, which I also thought was a pretty decent album. Good to see production mainly carried out by one producer who's a slightly different to Mike, but still they kind of operate in a similar lane and working together. And I did hear that they're working on a second album together. I think it's Pinball 2 is just what it's called. So also looking forward to this year to hopefully reviewing it. But this album on its own I think is great. Crazy just the output of Mike as well, just like a final note. As this guy, as I said, this is his 10th studio album, not counting his collab albums, and he's only 26. And he doesn't really have any albums off the top of my head that I would say are bad or mid. He has some albums that I think are pretty like far above average. He has good albums and he has these great albums like Showbiz, which is why I'm feeling an 8 out of 10 on this album. Let me know what you thought on it, and I'll see you in the next one.